But we're going to have Ellen join now with Jim Bianco. He's president of Bianco Research, hugely followed on the street. And what I find is it's a smart note, always, of course, that's Jim Bianco. But there'll be one sentence that hits you over the head. We get that now from Jim Bianco, where he talks about inflation coming down to that before level, and then it will reverse and drift higher. Jim, state the theory. How will we get to 3%, then drift higher?
Well, it's the base effect. Last year, June of 2022, we had one of the highest monthly numbers ever at 1.2%. You may remember gasoline prices were $5 a gallon a year ago. We're going to drop that off and we're going to replace it with a much lower number, something like 0.4 or in that range, and that'll bring the year-over-year inflation rate down to 3% for June. July of 2022 was 0. August was 0.2. Those numbers are going to be easy to jump over. And then if you start looking at September, November, December, you got 0.2s, 0.1s. Those numbers will be easier to jump over. So we should bottom at 3% and start drifting towards 4%. Now, I'm assuming no major downturn, no kind of crisis that comes along, no heating up of the war. That could change that equation. Yeah. But if the inflation rate bottoms at 3 and starts drifting higher, the Fed's going to find this unacceptable. And that 2 rate hikes that we have priced in for the rest of the year will happen, if not 3.
Jim, you're such a student of history. Is the Fed finding it unacceptable because they're wedded to a return to the great moderation? Or as Bill Dudley said last week in his Bloomberg opinion essay, this is a society, a country, a nation, and the Fed that has to get used to a permanent higher rate regime?
I don't think the Fed's quite with Dudley that they need to accept a higher permanent regime. I think they look at the 2%, and I think it comes back to May of last year when Chair Powell was in the White House, in the Oval Office, and President Biden pointed at him and said, America, this is the guy that's going to bring inflation down. And he's taken that very seriously. He has stated over and over again that their goal is 2%. He has said that without getting inflation down, you don't have an economy. So he's dead serious about trying to bring it down, and he should, because prices for the last 2 years have largely been running faster than raises. And so on a real basis, especially people that live paycheck to paycheck, they've been falling behind, and that has to be rectified.